What's up YouTube? This is Wendell aka BitNative with a brand new video on work from home tech. A couple of days ago we did a video with a Ubuntu 22.04 Jellyfish install. That was a base template for installing Metal as a Service. But one of the things I didn't do was I didn't go back from the very beginning of downloading an ISO file, burning the ISO to a thumb drive, and then installing the operating system. If you're interested in that video, go ahead and click the link and it'll take you to that video and you can watch that to get that basic 22.04 Ubuntu install up and running. This video, we're gonna go through the one bootloader to load them all. This is a multi-ISO capable loader that will load up multiple ISOs simply with dragging and dropping the ISO files onto the thumb drive. It's called Ventoy, and we're going to get into that as well as a nice slick system called Quick EMU to download any of those ISO files that you want. It'll be really simple, really quick, like we always like to do right here on Work From Home Tech. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the installation of Ventoy. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to the site. We'll go to https ventoy.net. The URL for this will be in the description of the video, as well as Quick EMU, in addition to one other link I have for Rufus for installing ISO images on a Windows machine. I'm a Linux guy. I'll be using Linux here. This is just a Ubuntu variant of Linux. So when we arrive at the page here, you can see this is 100% open source. There is support for ARM as well as IA32, MBR or Master Boot Record, UEFI is also supported. There are multiple different, user interfaces that are available on Ventoy, and you can pick and choose whatever you need to get the job done. Here's a screenshot of some of the different operating systems being booted with Ventoy. You can see it's got support for vCenter, SUSE Linux, Arch Linux, Ubuntu, as well as Windows. So we want to start off by first going ahead and downloading it. And here's the link to the download, or you can actually get the source code if you go ahead and do a git clone. One thing we'll take a look at really quick is if you take a look at documentation, the how to use, it'll give you a quick overview on how to use it. But here you can actually see the support under Linux. There's a GUI for a GTK Qt GUI. There's also a local hosted web user interface that you can utilize to install on your thumb drive. And then last but not least, there's a live CD version that you can use. Primarily, I believe that one is for using that as a virtual machine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and grab the Linux version here, and this will be the Linux tarball. And what I'll do is I'll go over here and I will get the link to this tarball, copy image address, and I'll go over to my terminal window. Now we have our terminal window here. What I like to do is I like to go ahead and I'm going to create a directory, ISOs, and we'll go ahead and go into that folder. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a wget, and I'm going to paste that URL. And now we have the Ventoy file. I'll extract that. And now we have our Ventoy folder. I will go ahead and take a look at our thumb drive. Now, I have just a little generic thumb drive here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to first insert that thumb drive. That way the kernel actually is, if you heard the little beep, the kernel has an opportunity to take a look at it, and it will actually give me a little information to make sure I don't blow up my machine when we go ahead and create this Ventoy disk. So what I'll do is I'll do a D message to take a look at my thumb drive device file name. My device file name is SDE. That is the device name. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll do a sudo. Let me clear the screen. fdisk device SDE. Do a P to print out the partition table, and you can see there's 2 there. This is a previous disk that I was using, but I'm gonna go ahead and delete the partition. I'm gonna delete the second partition. I have 1 left. Let's go ahead and delete the other one. And now I have no partitions left. I will go ahead and write that. And now get back to Ventoy. So when we go into the Ventoy folder, we can see we have a few shell scripts that are here in this folder. We can see we have a couple of GUIs, one for MIPS, there's the i386, there's the Arch, the ARM 64-bit, and we have our x86 64-bit as well. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and load a couple of these. Let's go ahead and load the first one. We'll load the Ventoy web. And one of the things you're going to want to do when you launch these is ensure that you're the super user, because it's going to ask you for those permissions so it can perform the low-level write using the DD. So we'll do that. And now we can see we have a server running on localhost. We'll copy that link and we'll go back to our web browser, and I'll open that up, paste that, and now we can see here's our disk SDE. Ensure that it is the correct disk that you're trying to overwrite, and it'll give you the option of burning or installing it on that disk. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my command console. I'll hit Control-C to exit out of the web version, and then I will go ahead and I will do a sudo, and I will load the GUI for x86 64-bit, and now the GUI for that pops up. We're just going to go ahead and say install. Now it's going to double check that you're doing this on the right drive, and I actually didn't pay attention. So good luck with this. All right, we're on SDE and we have it installed. So Ventoy is up and running on that drive. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. And one thing I'm going to do just to verify is I'm going to remove that thumb drive. I'm going to install it again. All right, and now I just got a notification on a different screen that there's a Ventoy disk installed. What I'll do is I'll just do a list of my media folder, and you can see there's a Ventoy disk that's located there. So if I do disk free space, human readable TAC H of the drive, media window, capital Ventoy, you can see there's 15 gigs available. And if we go here, we just do a little ls really quick, take a look and see there's nothing there. So we're free to install our ISO files there. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at QuickEMU to install ISO images. So let's go ahead and install some ISO images. What we're going to do is we're going to go over here and open up our browser again. We're going to go to GitHub. QuickEMU-project / QuickEMU. That should be the URL to take us there. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do a clone. Let's take a look at some of the supported ISO. Now, this is for installing virtual machines using the QEMU virtual machine manager. It'll actually go and grab the ISOs. It'll grab the VirtIO disk to provide all the drivers associated with that particular operating system. So there's a couple of prerequisites you need with this. You might want to make sure that you have JQ. I know something as simple as JQ will cause this to fail when it goes and grabs it, because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm not going to grab the full GUI version of this. I'm going to simply go ahead and utilize basically QuickGet, which will basically get the ISO image that I need, and I can drag it and drop it onto the Ventoy drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to copy that link here. I'm going to go back to my terminal and come out of Ventoy, and I'm going to do a git clone, paste the URL, and then I can go into QuickEMU, and here you can see there are a couple of scripts, and let's just go ahead and run QuickGet just to see the options. Clear the screen, run it. So you can see with QuickGet you can specify your operating system. You'll have to specify the operating system, and then you'll have to specify the version. So for now, I'm interested in, let's just go ahead and do Ubuntu. So we'll do a QuickGet, and we're gonna go ahead and say 2204. Let's go ahead and try this. So you can see it tells you you need to install, or you need to provide a version. So we're gonna go ahead and say 22.04. We're gonna go ahead and let that download. So it's doing the SHA-256 checksum for me, checking to make sure that ISO image is good, verifying that integrity, and we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a QuickEMU. We're going to say Windows 11. Oh, it's QuickGet.
Bruh.
QuickGet, Windows 11. Let's see. Windows space 11. All right. So now it's going and it's going to start downloading the English ISO version, and we'll let that download. And what I'll do is I will go back over to QuickEMU. You can see in there I have Ubuntu ISO image right here, and what we'll do is we will take that and I will copy it to Ventoy. So that's gonna go ahead and copy over to Ventoy. Here's my little progress, and while that's copying over to Ventoy on the thumb drive, we're downloading the Windows ISO image, and we'll go ahead and speed this up. I'm essentially going to take the Ubuntu and I'm going to take the Windows, and then we'll go ahead and boot them up and take a look at Ventoy. Taking a look at the BIOS configurations and actually getting into the BIOS, that's something that will be different for each individual user, depending on the date of the BIOS you have, depending on the manufacturer of the BIOS you have. You'll have to take a look at what keys or key switch options you need to utilize to invoke the BIOS menu, so you can actually get in and make all the settings that you need. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at this HP ThinkCenter that we've been using as one of our nodes. I'll hit the power button, and we will be pressing the enter key to invoke. So you see right here, I was able to catch the BIOS screen, and it gives me this setup interrupt menu. And what I can do is I can go ahead and hit F1 to go into the BIOS utility. So I hit F1, and what I can do is I can go in here and I can go over to startup. So if you take a look at startup, I have the primary boot sequence, and you can see I set it up for USB key and then the network. This is how to enable the PXE boot. That's the next in my priority list for the boot menu, and then there's the hard drive. This is a basic and generic GUI for setting up the BIOS. There's some more elaborate GUIs that you'll find on some of the more modern actual BIOSes, where you even have mouse interaction and it's actually a graphical interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on over to HP. Now on this HP, I know that there's an actual escape key to enter the startup menu, and hitting the escape key gives me this menu here. I can continue the boot. I can go in system information. I can go into the boot menu is where I want to go. But what I want to do is I'll go ahead and take a look at the BIOS setup. Now note that each one of these options, it identifies a specific key. This is important to note. F9 is for the boot menu, so when we actually power this up again, we should be able to just hit F9 and actually start up the boot menu. Let's take a look at that real quick. So if we take a look at the boot menu, you'll see it's got the first option as Ubuntu UEFI, which is the actual internal hard drive, and then there's our thumb drive, which has our Ventoy on it. But we'll hit the escape key and we'll go into BIOS setup real quick. Now you see that this is a different menu system, and we have to actually go all the way over to advanced and go over to boot options, and then here is where you'll see the actual PXE boot option, where you can turn that on to PXE boot. Now this particular machine is the actual Metal as a Service machine itself, so it doesn't actually PXE boot. It actually manages the machines or the nodes that PXE boot, so I won't turn that on. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hit escape here and say no to save changes, and we'll test out that F9 key to go ahead and go directly into the boot menu and continue with our Ventoy process. Alright, let's go ahead and hit that power button and hit the F9. And now you see our boot menu, and I can select the USB drive, and this should fire up our menu option. Our menu option shows the two ISO images that we put on here, the Ubuntu 2204 as well as Windows 11. And then down at the bottom, you'll see there are menu options for looking at the images. That's the browser option, F2. You can actually do a memory disk under F1. There's tree view. There's the local boot to boot from the local machine, and then there's a couple of tools that are available in Ventoy. You can explore that and utilize those as needed, but what I'll do here is we'll go ahead and test out the boot process. And as you can see, we selected Windows, and now we're booting into the Windows 11 operating system with that fresh ISO image that we used QuickEMU to download. Again, that's a great utility that you can utilize to grab the ISO images and utilize them in your day-to-day operations. All right, so I'm not going to go through this entire process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and power this off, and we're going to go ahead and try out the Ubuntu just to make sure that both of those images are good to go and we don't have any problem with them. All right, we've cycled the power on our machine. We enter the boot menu and we select that USB drive. Ventoy should fire right back up, and we'll select Ubuntu 2204. And now you can see we've got our Ubuntu menu. We'll go ahead and do the try/install option. And now Ubuntu installation utility is starting up. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel by now, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because there's a lot more content coming. And if you don't like the video, you can leave a thumbs down. No problems at all with that. Just leave a comment to help me understand what I can do to improve, make things better, and help you to get the job done. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.